So, I was going down the path of my hobby is smooth muscle control, and it led me upstream from smooth muscle control, up the nervous system to the heart and to the brain, and that led me to, I can visualize feelings, and if I can visualize feelings, I can visualize the strength of them, and I can see it on my computer screen. I have a way of training. What Brad gave me a video the other day is called The Secret. It's this law of attraction. I didn't agree with everything on the video, but I do believe that visualization is very important. Like when we're doing war strategy, I like to do in the military is I like to get around a bunch of PhDs that are in research areas and hear what they're saying and try and figure out things that people haven't figured out before. And my forte was doing a systems model for developing humans. So when you're around a war college, you're trying to produce people at the 5, 6, or 7 year point, officers in the Navy, and then you're trying to invest in them so 15 years later when they're commanding the war, they've got a background to make the war not only operational level war, but also strategic level war. So you got to project 20 years out for what the environment's going to be for education you're doing today. So what's the requirement? It's really hard. So anybody's right? So I tried to come up with a methodology to do some of that stuff, and that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years. When I get a chance, I research smooth muscle cell. Also go into fat cell, because the same controls that control smooth muscle, a lot of them control fat cell behavior. And the idea is that if you have a memory from way back when, like 6 or 7 years old, none of the molecules in your body are the same as when you were 7. You're a totally different person. And these cells get constantly replaced, and each cell operates independently. If you can optimize performance of the cell, somehow you can optimize performance of the human. And that was kind of my passion, is these two types of muscles, smooth muscle cell and then the fat cell. And what I discovered was this entrance into visualization that would align with the law of attraction type thing. I want to show you, I'm going to hook somebody up to the screen. We're going to look at their feelings on screen. And we're going to show you the resonant frequency that all humans operate at. Every mammal has a different frequency that's coherent. That's when everything lines up. 0.1 hertz for a human. Yeah. And your respiratory system lines up that way, your blood pressure rhythm lines up that way, and your heart rate variability lines up all at 0.1 hertz. It's our human resonant frequency. When we're there, we're about 30 to 40% more intuitive. It's really important. All right, so on this thing of smooth muscle performance, how do you get a smooth muscle to relax? How do you get it to constrict? I was looking for a control signal, and the reason is your whole cardiovascular is made up of smooth muscles that control the width of your pipes, and by controlling the width, you control pressure. And most people think blood pressure gets raised because there's blockage. That's not true. 50% of sudden death cardiac heart attacks come from a constriction that constricts, and then your heart goes into defibrillation, and you die, and then you relax, and the doctors go in, and they can't find any reason why you died. 50%. So it's because this signal got overloaded. And what I want to do is figure out a way to relax it all the time, unless I really want to constrict. And then, so. These muscles are innervated, and they're innervated by two types of nerves. They're from the autonomic nervous system. You have parasympathetic nerves that emit a little hormone called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide kicks off a little secondary messenger in there that goes and lowers calcium levels. When the calcium level lowers, then this cell relaxes. On this side, you have a sympathetic nerve that comes down the same muscle. They're innervated in the muscle, and it emits a hormone called norepinephrine, which is epinephrine's adrenaline, and it constricts. So that's how so the way sympathetic and parasympathetic are activated by your feelings. Well, your feelings are generated at some point from sensory input and thoughts. Most people think, I saw this on the video, the secret video, thoughts become feelings, feelings become, they go down the stream. It's actually not true. Thoughts and sensory and thoughts get compared to needs, and needs generate the feelings. If the thoughts and things you sense satisfy your needs, then you're going to get a satisfied feeling, which is a relaxed feeling. If the thoughts and things you're sensing don't satisfy your needs, then you get a dissatisfied feeling, which causes constriction and this angst. Okay? I didn't have a vocabulary for this, so I actually had to print out a list of human feelings, satisfied and dissatisfied, because I'm a boy and I was taught not to have feelings. I was taught not to have needs. So, thus 4 divorces. So I couldn't talk about it, right? I mean, you can't I don't want to be a needy bitch. I mean, you know, what do I do? And I was in the military, so I had a preacher daddy, military up, you know, ran away in the military the day I turned 17. And you just weren't allowed to have feelings and needs. And what is this whole world? So I made up a form. And on the sides it gives satisfied feelings, dissatisfied feelings with needs at the bottom. And so I printed it out and stuck it in my pocket for about a year until I could learn to talk about what feelings I had. Because when someone asked me what I was feeling, I'd give them an assessment. I'd give them a judgment. Feeling good. It's not a feeling, it's an assessment of your feeling. What are you really feeling? Damn, I don't have that vocabulary. Pull out my list. Okay, yeah, now I'm feeling that. And so you have to develop this, but your mind kind of knows. This can be measured. You can actually see this on the screen. We're going to see this in a little bit. When I hook up, the way your heart beats is through the action of these 2 nerve endings, these 2 types of nerves. By just every beat, it doesn't occur again until your heart gets a constriction signal. So the time between heartbeats is different for every beat. It's not like a metronome. And that speed, that variability changes. And that change can be deconstructed. If you measure the variability between heartbeats, you can deconstruct the activity of these and display it on the screen. And so we're going to see that with somebody who wants to be a guinea pig. So this heartbeat can give me an idea of feelings. And if I can see it, then I can start learning to control it. And I call it evidence-based feedback. The problem is that these guys, there's still a control signal that's missing here, and it's actually the major one that sets a baseline in these 2 guys. Oh, one more thing. Heart has muscle cells, memory cells. So the same ganglia that are in your brain, your heart is embedded with actual brain cells. Who knew? What's more, the nerves from your heart, between your heart and mind, most of them are ascending, to go up. So your heart is actually controlling your brain. Really weird. And your heart, half those neurons, those ganglia, are sensory ganglia that remember states it should be. What happens is persistent feelings generate a baseline of how the heart feels. Then it remembers it because it has actual brain cells in the heart. And then whenever you're not at that baseline, your body seeks to return to it. So someone who's always stressed is going to find some way to stress themselves out to return to baseline. They're going to feel weird when they're not stressed. Somebody who's really happy and peaceful is going to feel really weird when they're not happy and peaceful. They're going to try to go back to baseline.
Can you change your baseline?
Exactly. I'm still going down this route on how to control these. It turns out, this is where I actually started this whole journey 15 years ago, that food controls signals that either go and relax or they come and constrict. And this valve that governs the constriction is controlled by insulin-glucagon ratio, which are two hormones that are secreted out of your pancreas in response to glucose levels in your blood. The whole idea is to keep your brain supplied with blood. So your body's developed very good mechanisms to keep that blood supply constant because your brain needs it. If your food is screwing up this baseline, you can feel relaxed all day long, and you aren't going to actually, your muscles aren't going to relax if your diet is fighting it. So I always start out like this. If you want to improve mental state and teaching your heart to feel good, you got to get this baseline right, so that the muscles can react to the feelings so your brain understands the feedback. The brain's really weird. Guy has pain in his arm, he's paralyzed. And in paralyzed limbs, sometimes there's tremendous pain. The brain is trying to control that limb and it won't control, and they get this, it's real physical pain. So they cut the arm off. And then you got this phantom pain. And the guy who fixed it, the way he fixes his phantom pain, and it's been repeated all over the world, he takes a cardboard box with a mirror in it, and he puts it right in front of the arm that's missing, and then he has the guy move this on, and your brain thinks, because it's in the mirror, he's looking at the mirror, and he's really seeing this hand, but it's inverted. And once he can see it, then he can train himself to get rid of his phantom arm, because he can move it. Your brain remembers. If you have thoughts and you have feelings, those feelings change your heart rate, and your body is expecting your muscles to relax, but your diet doesn't let it relax, your brain's going to be frustrated. It's going to be like, hey, I just sent this signal and no one's responding to what I'm trying to do. And eventually it stops trying. Is it really weird? You just get this muted effect. It's really weird what your brain will learn. So you got to keep this system working. So anyway, there's a whole thing on how to control that. I'm not going to go into that today. I'm going to have this lady. She's a neuroscientist.
I love this
She's
talk.
doing research on her brother was a schizophrenic, and so she grew up wanting to be a brain scientist. She became one, and then she had a stroke. And it took out her left hemisphere.
Wait, is this a TED Talk?
Yeah.
It's called a stroke of insight.
Anyway.
It's awesome.
So this is a real human brain. This is the front of the brain, the back of the brain with the spinal cord hanging down. And this is how it would be positioned inside of my head. And when you look at the brain, it's obvious that the two cerebral cortices are completely separate from one another. For those of you who understand computers, our right hemisphere functions like a parallel processor, while our left hemisphere functions like a serial processor. The two hemispheres do communicate with one another through the corpus callosum, which is made up of some 300 million axonal fibers. But other than that, the two hemispheres are completely separate. Because they process information differently, each of our hemispheres think about different things, they care about different things, and dare I say, they have very different personalities. Excuse me. Thank you. It's been a joy. Our right human hemisphere is all about this present moment. It's all about right here, right now. Our right hemisphere, it thinks in pictures, and it learns kinesthetically through the movement of our bodies. Information in the form of energy streams in simultaneously through all of our sensory systems, and then it explodes into this enormous collage of what this present moment looks like, what this present moment smells like and tastes like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like. I am an energy being connected to the energy all around me through the consciousness of my right hemisphere. We are energy beings connected to one another through the consciousness of our right hemispheres as one human family. And right here, right now, we are brothers and sisters on this planet, here to make the world a better place. And in this moment, we are perfect, we are whole, and we are beautiful. My left hemisphere, our left hemisphere, is a very different place. Our left hemisphere thinks linearly and methodically. Our left hemisphere is all about the past, and it's all about the future. Our left hemisphere is designed to take that enormous collage of the present moment and start picking out details, and more details about those details. It then categorizes and organizes all that information, associates it with everything in the past we've ever learned, and projects into the future all of our possibilities. And our left hemisphere thinks in language. It's that ongoing brain chatter that connects me and my internal world to my external world. It's that little voice that says to me, hey, you got to remember to pick up bananas on your way home. I need them in the morning. It's that calculating intelligence that reminds me when I have to do my laundry. But perhaps most important, it's that little voice that says to me, I am. I am. And as soon as my left hemisphere says to me, I am, I become separate. I become a single, solid individual, separate from the energy flow around me and separate from you. And this is a portion of my brain that I lost on the morning of my stroke.
You have two brains. You're a we. You're not an I. You are a we. In other words, you have two totally separate brains that can operate autonomously. They're connected with a communications channel, so they can share information. But they're not the same brain. And that really got me. So when I think, what am I thinking with, and how? Because when I visualize, I should use my right side for visualization and leave all the planning out of it. And then when I want to plan, I want to use my left side and not see all these visions and pictures and things to get all excited about, but get into my left brain activity. So that gave me a construct to start thinking about different sides and how I might leverage this. So right brain is sensory, left brain is logical. It looks in visions and pictures. This is detailed. This thinks about needs and potential. Because everything's now. There's no limits. Everything, I'm part of everything. Everything is mine. But I'm not even me. I'm just part of everything. There's no resource limitations to the right side. The left side thinks of risk. It's going, okay, what's mine? Who am I? And how do I make more of what I got? Or how do I protect what I got? And it's always thinking risk. And what happened in the past? What's going to happen in the future? All those things that I don't do very well. This thinks in pictures, thinks in language, boundless, bounded. And the most important thing to me was this energy level. And the right brain, evidently, is connected, it thinks, feels energy that is all around, and it doesn't it doesn't see anything really different from the energy in the table than the energy in a person or an animal. That was really strange to me. I had to do some research on that, and I can't verify any independent studies. I can on a lot of the data, but I can't on that one that verified that. And then this, the left brain is doing all your spreadsheets. Right brain thinks we are. Left brain thinks I am. Really key for me was I was having a really hard time motivating myself to do anything because I enjoy research so much. And it's so easy to I love, I get excited when I see something on TED and I want to go research it. And I got PubMed access and I can go home and I can spend 20 hours straight pulling up all the research, going through it, figuring out how it fits into some other model I got. And I can play like that all day long. There's no need for money when you're like that. Like, there's no need for assets. I can do, as long as I have a Wi-Fi at McDonald's, I can live in a box and be perfectly happy. And that's a problem with me. And I learned that.
Nick, my left brain has a question about bullet number 3 on the right brain.
Yeah.
What do you mean by potential there when you say it's about the now?
They think emotions come from, and this comes down to where we're going next with this emotional control, is they know that the same activities will generate a different feeling at different times for the same human. So therefore it's not the action that generates the feelings, it must be needs. The problem is when you have everything you need, you generate the same feeling all the time. Love, gratitude, appreciation. So what I'm saying with all this thing, when it thinks of needs, it thinks about the potential because everything's available. This is more of a needs and risk. You don't have everything, so therefore you can risk losing it. This side, there's no risk in your needs. So your needs are very broad-based. They're not like I got to have this amount, so next year I'm going to make this. These needs might be more universal to everybody, not just what I need. And that's the way I kind of inferred it from a few sources I looked at. But I think the most potential that I learned out of this is in visualization, your right brain has no concept of time. It doesn't know past and future. It just knows now. So if you can get it to think about something, it doesn't know it doesn't exist right now. Right? I mean, you don't have to fake, my first taste of Napoleon Hill is I was on a ship and one of the guys got into Amway. So I went into, hell, I'll listen to anything. So I went in and they started talking about this visualization. You had to visualize. Go through all this stuff, law of attraction stuff is really big in some organizations that are involved in that. And my left brain fought it the whole time. As soon as I would create this reality that existed 5 years in the future, and my left brain would kick in and go, that ain't true. None of that shit works. And then I'd start listing out all the things. Because it was thinking about the past, and it was thinking about the future, and it was ascertaining how it meant to now, and I couldn't visualize. I couldn't visualize with feeling. And the people that could, I'd look at them like, you're just making that shit up. Right? Well, it's true. If you can get your left brain to stop the chatter, your right brain will actually believe whatever you put into it, because it doesn't know time. It just senses. Right? So leverage it. In other words, if you know that's what's going on, you got a whole brain that can visualize the future just as if it were today and generate those emotions of gratitude that go along with that. Just like as long as your left brain doesn't get in the way and start chattering to it. And then your right brain's integration with energy. If you understand this, then that side doesn't feel, thinks everybody's on the same team. Therefore, it's very risky because they're not always on. So you need the left brain along there with it. But when you're doing just visualization where you want to go in life, you can do it on this side. And then one of the big things about it, if this is true, there's a thing on thoughts have energy, a frequency. Feelings have a frequency. If you're doing that, you're transmitting. That means your energy is affecting me, my energy is affecting you. You got to be careful who you're hanging around. Because the strongest energy wins. Left brain action planning. One of the things I say on this is until you really feel the right brain visualization of where you want to go, until you have a clear goal, and this is even in war. When you're planning war, when you're doing national strategy stuff, you better be able to visualize the outcome you want. Because blowing up the damn bridge is not really what you want. You want peace. You better visualize that peace and what that looks like in detail before you start planning tactics on the ground, because you're going to get people killed for no damn reason, right? This is a very important skill, is this visualization. When you visualize the future, you know when you got it when your feelings are strong enough about it. Because until then, it's really not integrated. And until you get that, I wouldn't even start any planning on anything. Don't plan on doing anything until you can visualize where you're going really clearly and feel it. Once you can do that, now you're ready to start planning. And I'd always start planning because I can see it on paper and I'm doing something. I'm not doing anything if I'm just visualizing and trying to create a feeling. It's not productive. And so I had a big challenge in this. And I'm starting to cure myself. We're about ready to go through hooking somebody up here. But what we're going to see is we're going to see the heart rate varying, and the distance between heartbeats changes, and feelings change this separation because it governs these nerve endings. And these nerve endings are what's actually controlling smooth muscle. When you put on a power spectrum, this is the resonant frequency of a human. This is my heartbeat, and I measured it, or my nervous system, as shown by my heart rate variability analysis. This 0.1 is the resonant frequency of a human. Right here is sympathetic. This means I'm stressed. This over here is parasympathetic. This means I'm really relaxed. Where we operate best is 0.1, which is parasympathetically dominated. And this is controlled by these feelings. The strength of it, this amplitude, you can get all, I've got as high up as 1,000. If I got on there right now, I'll be about 20s or 30s. Because I'm not focused. I'm thinking about, unless somebody really stresses me out, I'll jump up to 400 or 500 here on my stress. But I can look at the strength of my feelings on this, which is really now I have a knowledge of how strong I really feel about that future vision I'm trying to create. Right hand. And I can train my heart to be right here all the time. You can do it. I do it 20 minutes a day, and you get this thing you're trying to visualize. You get the feeling of love and appreciation. You'll see this meter just sink in. And I don't know who's going to be my guinea pig. I'll try and get you to do it. But then after that, you practice every day on raising the amplitude. And if you can get that amplitude raised, it's so powerful, your heart will memorize it. You don't need to be hooked to the meter anymore. I can do this now. When I'm driving down the road, all of a sudden I can sense it. I'm out. And I'll get into it. I'll start creating a feeling by visualizing a thought, and then I'll get that feeling, and I'll know when I sink into it because I've memorized it. It's really cool. It's almost like a click. You can almost hear it. This is her, she had the stroke at night. She thinks right before she woke up, and the stroke probably woke her up. So what's happening in her brain right now is she's had an aneurysm, and the blood is starting leaking out in her left hemisphere, and it's forming a blood clot, which is getting bigger and bigger. And that's gradually taking away the left side of her brain, which is the logical side. So right now she's going to describe what it feels like as she's going in and out of left brain and right brain, where right brain is the only thing operating, where the left brain kicks in a little bit. And it's freaking amazing.
So I got up and I jumped onto my cardia glider, which is a full body, full exercise machine. And I'm jamming away on this thing, and I'm realizing that my hands look like primitive claws grasping onto the bar. And I thought, that's very peculiar. And I looked down at my body, and I thought, whoa, I'm a weird-looking thing. And it was as though my consciousness had shifted away from my normal perception of reality, where I'm the person on the machine having the experience, to some esoteric space where I'm witnessing myself having this experience. And it was all very peculiar, and my headache was just getting worse. So I get off the machine, and I'm walking across my living room floor, and I realize that everything inside of my body has slowed way down. And every step is very rigid and very deliberate. There's no fluidity to my pace, and there's this constriction in my area of perception, so I'm just focused on internal systems. And I'm standing in my bathroom getting ready to step into the shower, and I could actually hear the dialogue inside of my body. I heard a little voice saying, okay, you muscles, you got to contract, and you muscles, you relax. And then I lost my balance, and I'm propped up against the wall. And I looked down at my arm, and I realized that I can no longer define the boundaries of my body. I can't define where I begin and where I end, because the atoms and the molecules of my arm blended with the atoms and molecules of the wall. And all I could detect was this energy. And I'm asking myself, what is wrong with me? What is going on? And in that moment, my brain chatter, my left hemisphere brain chatter, went totally silent. Just like someone took a remote control and pushed the mute button. Total silence. And at first I was shocked to find myself inside of a silent mind. But then I was immediately captivated by the magnificence of the energy around me. And because I could no longer identify the boundaries of my body, I felt enormous and expansive. I felt at one with all the energy that was, and it was beautiful there. And then all of a sudden, my left hemisphere comes back online, and it says to me, hey, we got a problem, we got to get some help. And I'm going, oh, I got a problem. So it's like, okay, I got a problem. But then I immediately drifted right back out into the consciousness, and I affectionately refer to this space as La La Land. But it was beautiful there. Imagine what it would be like to be totally disconnected from your brain chatter that connects you to the external world. So here I am in this space, and my job and any stress related to my job, it was gone. And I felt lighter in my body. And imagine all of the relationships in the external world and any stressors related to any of those, they were gone. And I felt this sense of peacefulness. And imagine what it would feel like to lose 37 years of emotional baggage. Oh, I felt euphoria. It was beautiful there. And then again, my left hemisphere comes online, and it says, hey, you've got to pay attention. We've got to get help. And I'm thinking, I got to get help. I got to focus. So I get out of the shower, and I mechanically dress, and I'm walking around my apartment, and I'm thinking, I got to get to work. Can I drive? And in that moment, my right arm went totally paralyzed by my side. Then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm having a stroke. And then the next thing my brain says to me is, wow, this is so cool. How many brain scientists have the opportunity to study their own brain from the inside out?
What we're doing now is this thing is going through, it's going to start measuring its heart rate on the bottom. Notice that each heartbeat is different. What you're doing is plotting over time, you're plotting the variability in his heartbeat. And that variability is due to his sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system doing a dance.
Are we talking about variability as to timing of
between heartbeats?
Okay, but not amplitude.
Not amplitude. Now, what happens is we fluctuate in a wave, just like the waves of an ocean. So the changes in between heart rates go in a pattern or in a rhythm. And what you're seeing now is an amplitude, and you don't smoke or drink much? Okay.
Not until I come to Brad.
All right. So my variability is about right here because I lived really hard and lived fast for many, many years. And my nervous system I've damaged it. So you can actually age somebody by this amplitude of their rate. So kids have a huge variance. In other words, their system is very sensitive to each other, and they can vary the heart a lot. As you get older, your feedback mechanisms aren't good, and you slowly level out that curve. And at a very advanced stage, you have almost no variability. Okay, so variability is really total left-hand side is the sympathetic activity, and right now it's the highest activity in it. Go ahead and look. So this sympathetic nerve This is a sympathetic nerve. Here, Brett, let me slide over here. This right here is a sympathetic nervous system. This is parasympathetic. And this is where you want to be, you behave optimally. Take kids, 6 weeks, 20 minutes a day, and they get about 30% improvement in scores on cognitive tests. And there's many other reasons. Lowers depression, lowers a lot of other symptoms just by training your frequency to be at the right rate.
So when you're meditating, are you trying to get your range smaller or larger?
You're trying. This range is due to your health and how old you are. So, but this amplitude here, you can get up into 700-800s when you're used to meditating. You can focus your feelings well. This amplitude is an indication of the strength of your feelings. So if you got really, really mad right now, this would skyrocket. You'd get way up here. Okay, so now we're going to try and get you focused in here. All right. So here's the way you do it.
So can you tell us what it's going to look like after you get him focused there?
Yeah,
He's
going to have a spike on 0.1 hertz. He's going to have a spike right here.
Okay.
First thing you do is you settle down your breathing. So what I need you to do is just start following that meter on the right and breathe. Square your body around so you're not twisted. And breathe in and out with this meter. And what I'd like you to do is visualize something that you're very, very grateful or you have love for. And it's not just picturing in your mind, it's feeling that love and gratitude.
So you should be breathing based on what that thing's doing on the right? Is what you're saying?
That's a good pacemaker, but then after you settle in, you do this for 20 minutes at a time, and you'll settle into your own rhythm. That's really where you should go.
Okay.
But that'll get you started. And see, now watch, see how this settles out. As he's starting to meditate about what he loves and appreciates, his heart rate drops. It's starting to become more smoother, less jagged. And you're going to see it slowly slide over 0.1 hertz as he starts feeling love or feeling gratitude. You'll see it's amazing. The way I found out this really works, my dad's a preacher, my mom's the ultimate preacher's wife. I hooked her up to it. Of course, God supplies everything. There's no need for worry. She's totally parasympathetic. I mean, totally. Not one sympathetic activity. I've never heard her argue with my dad. My dad walked in the room while I had her hooked on the monitor, and he said something, and just his voice spiked her sympathetic. And I looked at it. The first time I ever knew my dad stressed my mom out, and you couldn't tell it on her face. All right, we're back. You dropped out of it. Yeah. So so he never did get quite synced up. It takes some practice, and it's really hard to put somebody on stage anyway. But you can see the variability is jagged, and then he started visualizing. Right here is when he started visualizing. He had a little bit of breaks in his thought right here. You can see when you drop out of it. And then now he's back to just a normal pattern. But when you get good at this, it'll be this wave, like these two right here. It'll be all the way across. And this strength will be up around 700. And when you're right there, you know you got it. You got it. And the theory I've got, and I haven't tested this out yet, the theory I've got is that if you force yourself to be disciplined to get that down first, then start planning on how to achieve your goals. Your plans will be intuitive. Remember, the thing you're trying to do is visualize an object. You're not trying to be passive. You're trying to be active in your mind and thinking about whatever you're thankful for, whatever you love. It could be a dog, could be a person, could be a setting. You can walk around a lake that you've been to that's just perfect and just feel appreciation for that. And it'll lock in. And I can get it now where I only have 3 bars. The 1 bar right here and then 2 bars on either side. But my strength isn't as high as I haven't been practicing long enough.
So when you're left and right of that 0.1, what's the difference between those?
Okay, this is your sympathetic nervous system.
Which is which one? I forget.
Stress, constriction. This is parasympathetic relaxation. So if you're doing an Eastern meditation, where you're trying to clear your mind and just go, your heart rate will actually drop real low, and you'll be spiked over here. But you're not very effective in performing anything. So the best performance range for a human is right here. That's where we perform best, because it's not stressed, it's not super relaxed like you're in a coma, emotional coma. It's right here where love and gratitude exist, because love and gratitude aren't really passive emotions; they're fairly active.
Okay.
So you want to have right there.
And that frequency is what now? It's not electrical frequency. It's frequency.
It's a reconstitution of a heart rate.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's figuring all this out based on the heart rate.
Yeah. The distance between heart rates.
It'd be interesting if you could measure this collectively as a culture, as how culture responds to fear based upon stimuli in the media and things like that, and whether you could alter group consciousness, like when Lenin talks about all you need is love, and when people are, if collectively you can operate in the same balance between that parasympathetic as a culture, and then thus we collectively are operating at a much more effective group. I don't know how you'd measure that as a group.
Well, how about the Buddhists? I mean, if they're going at it from, you have a thought and emotion, but you reduce your needs on his chart, then from there it goes down into your emotions. So they're controlling their emotions through their left brain by reducing needs. And then as a society, they have more peace.
But his suggestion is that you're not effective when you get needless.
Yeah, but that's from the Western take no prisoner mentality. I'm saying, he effective at what? What have we achieved in the Western world? Domination. So are you at peace?
One of the thing I was trying to convey here today is that that visualizing an end state and feeling that feeling is very important before you get into planning. And I stumbled on this thing that helps me visualize and strengthen my feeling toward an end state. So I don't visualize something in the past I have love and gratitude for anymore. I project a future, and I create the love and gratitude for that future. And I try and get my right brain to see it as if it's today. And in that process, if you can get yourself to have a really strong feeling for something that doesn't exist yet, but you want it to exist, you can strengthen that power. It projects a frequency out. And there's many different, I know the frequency exists. So one final thing is the people who make this meter started going down the path of trying to figure out intuition, and they would bring up a computer screen with images on it, and the image would be designed to stimulate a sympathetic response or a parasympathetic response. And what they saw is the heart would react before the mind waves reacted. And they thought, how could the heart react before the mind, and it would react a second before the computer switched screens. And you can look up the literature. It's published, peer-reviewed. And the only way that's possible if they got information in the heart from a non-sensory information source. So for those of you who want to go way out there with this right brain stuff, where she says we're a part of everything, we're a we, and we're all the same energy, that's where the information came from, on the images that cause the heart to react to that image before it comes up on the screen and your eyes can see it. And they've got enough studies done. They're on the third phase of this intuition study. It's called Heartmath.com. If you want to go to Heartmath.com, and they have a About Us, and you go in there into the research center, and you can look up the scientific studies they've been doing. And right now they're doing it with they're doing a mentalist. They get a mentalist in one room that can recreate somebody else's. And there's just a number of things they're doing on. They firmly believe, they've proven that the heart is getting information from somewhere other than sensory, because it reacts before the brain does, which is really, really cool. So. I got into the drug market, and aspirin and NSAIDs sell more than anything, right?
Aspirin and?
NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammation devices.
Okay.
They're drugs. So all an NSAID does is block off the food signal. Remember when the food signal came over and it created a constriction signal from food? Aspirin kills the COX enzyme. So it can't make the bad signal and it can't make the good signal. So therefore 10,000 people a year die of aspirin. 10,000. Why don't you hear about it? No one wants to talk about it because you saved hundreds of thousands of people's lives. So they sacrifice the 10,000 a year to internal bleeding, because what happens when you take aspirin, it kills the COX enzyme, which kills both the good signal and the bad signal, so you have no control. It just takes everything away and says, there, I fixed your headache. What you really do is you fix the PGE1 signal that's supposed to go out and heal. And one of the things it does is it protects your stomach line. Well, on the mental side, down at the very bottom, you see an erection there. Viagra works by when you get the relaxed signal from a parasympathetic system. Your parasympathetic nerve comes out, and what it does, it sends out a nitric oxide. Nitric oxide hits the smooth muscle, and inside that smooth muscle there's a secondary messenger called cyclic GMP. And cyclic GMP is the one that goes and lowers the calcium to relax the smooth muscle to allow a sexual response. Well, all Viagra does is it kills the enzyme that kills the secondary messenger. So what happens is the secondary messenger just builds up and builds up and builds up, and finally you overcome your diet and your muscle can relax. Well, I can totally get rid of anybody who needs Viagra Cialis, totally fix it in 7 days. They never need it again. I've done it a number of times. And your sympathetic nervous system are called autonomic. You're not supposed to be able to control them. They're automatic. They're not supposed to be in control. This will help. You can learn to control them. And when you learn to control them, you can control all the functions on this screen a lot better than just by chance. In other words, you can start exerting control of the autonomic nervous system. So my blood pressure, typically when I go in, when it's 90/50 when I was smoking.
Wow.
I just force my body not to constrict. We can't constrict. So very cool stuff. If you want any in-depth stuff, I can get into geek stuff.